Okay.
Hey, Rima Malek is an educational technology specialist and associate professor of information and communication technology in education at the Lebanese University. She teaches and conducts research on ICT integration for education, ICT integration for special needs, and also on digital humanities, on e-libraries, e-heritage, and e-diplomacy. Rima Malek is currently involved in international education projects. She obtained her PhD in education from Université de Rouen. So, Dr. Malek, we would like to start by asking you for some general background on how distance learning was being used prior to the onset of the coronavirus pandemic in Lebanon.
First of all, I'd like to tell you thank you for having me. And I'm so glad to share the Lebanese experience and a little bit the Middle Eastern experience. In Lebanon, distant learning is not acknowledged nor accredited. So if you have a distant learning diploma taken from a university that is recognized in Lebanon from the whole world, it will not be accredited, which means if I do have a bachelor degree taken online from Europe or from the States, or just any other part of the world, when I come to Lebanon and I want to work in the public sector, I won't be able to use that degree. And the private sector depends on each institution. So knowing that, and this is kind of similar for the Arab region, except few countries just that have started their own online learning universities, only those diplomas are acknowledged. When it comes to Lebanon, 0 diploma are acknowledged around the world. So this is the way it was before distant learning. The Ministry of Education and Higher Education started gradually to tell us you can go blended, having maximum 30% of your courses online. Then they moved up with the 50%. But those are spoken, they are, we don't have text, signed text, official and formal text saying that. But informally, they allow us to go a little bit blended. And this is scaring everybody. It is scaring the student, it is scaring somehow the institutions, because it's not yet formal. This is the way it was until the night of COVID-19 spreading.
So when COVID-19 came along, how did things change?
We slept with no recognition of distant learning. We woke up with go distant. And this was not very easy when it comes to the teachers, school teachers or university teachers. Definitely, we do have many workshops done to go and start using the online as a tool for blended learning. And the teachers who took those workshops, they had something in between their hands and they were somehow familiar with it. But this was not the case of everybody because we had no training. Some of them did not have any training. When it comes to my faculty, the Faculty of Pedagogy within the Lebanese University, we do have a master's degree of educational technology. So we prepare students having already a bachelor degree in any kind of education or in computer science, or even from other subjects and other areas in the world. They come with their bachelor degree and they tell us we want to integrate technology in our field, even if it is journalism or even if it is to teach journalism, to teach, for example, nursing, to prepare workshops through technology. They come to us and they prepare a master's degree in this. For this surrounding, it was no issue. We were very happy to use 100% everything we are teaching and learning for the students. But when we go a little bit further than that, some teachers were not prepared at all. Some had workshops to use tools online, and they tried somehow to integrate them. But this was not really enough. When it comes to schools prepare their teacher prior to COVID the virtual board within the classrooms and to prepare interactive classes within the classroom. So this was somehow easy to put them online and to start through either Teams or Zoom applications to use them. But the teacher who did not integrate themselves or refused or did not have the chance to participate for any reason, they had hard times on both levels, higher education and the KGs.
Interesting. And did you say March 9th was the day that the COVID-19 lockdown began?
No, I did not give a date. I think we started in February. I can do my research and send this back to you. Because prior to that, we had the revolution starting in Lebanon in October 17. So we started to go on and off to schools and universities. Then when we had the COVID, it was total stop of the teaching. So we kind of gradually starting to prepare ourselves to a new period of time, but we were not sure that they will allow us. It was thanks, if I may say thanks to the COVID, that the online was accepted in Lebanon. And now they have prepared a commission within the Ministry of Education to start to figure out rules for that.
I see.
That's really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Please, Jean.
Yeah. So what's the situation at this moment? Are the universities scheduled to reopen? And in what way? What's the plan for reopening, and what role will uh, the remote learning play in that reopening? Is it gradual, or is it all of a sudden the doors are flung open, or is it something more blended, some blended kind of model?
Until now, we are still 100% online, totally distant learning. Knowing that we do have two difficulties. First of all, the COVID situation, then the economic situation in Lebanon that started to be bad because of the revolution.
Yes.
So combining those two together, we have seen many universities giving the least possible courses during summer. Mm-hmm. So they canceled many programs and they maintained only the courses that will allow students to graduate for those who are approaching their graduation.
I see.
But to give new courses for students who will still have 1 or 2 or 3 years to go, they canceled those courses. I think that we don't have a clear decision how things will move. Mm-hmm. Knowing that you have 60% of the Lebanese students when it comes to universities, there are 60% of the Lebanese university students are within the Lebanese University, which is the only public university of the country. And this gives like around 70,000 students.
Wow.
And the other 40% are spread up to 41 universities. So we do have one public and 41 private universities. So here we do have an issue concerning paying the tuition of the students because of the economic situation. This is coming to add to the difficulties of the COVID and the difficulties of the revolution we're having. Now what we can hear is that universities are preparing themselves to be online for the fall semesters, but still nothing written, nothing confirmed. I think the commission that started a week ago will have to study plans for that and to issue new rules. When it comes to schools went online exactly like universities and without any prior preparations, except for the teachers who decided to go to workshops prior to that, just to animate their classrooms,
right,
and to add technology to it. Mm-hmm. They also want to go online. We are having information from here and from there that the fall semester will be online for both schools and universities.
Mm-hmm. Are the one quick question, I assume that the private universities follow the government, the public university, that everyone goes on and offline at the same time. Is that right?
Yes, yes. But the tools differ from the public to the private.
Oh,
differ according to what the university can handle. For example,
ah,
for this university, we are using Teams because we do have a convention with Microsoft, and they gave us online training to use Teams for those of us who want to do so. And since then, they are giving their teachers online workshops every now and then. For example, how to use Turnitin, exams, those who will prepare term papers, how to check it, how to verify everything. So they are being really active in an interesting way concerning the Lebanese University.
This is Microsoft Teams, right?
Yes, Microsoft
Yes.
Teams.
and the private universities, maybe some probably varies from university to university, I would guess.
Exactly, according to their budgets.
Mm.
Some are using Teams also, some others are going through Zoom, and those who are, some of them are doing online exams. They are using softwares to block the screens, block the internet access, and have the camera on the students while performing their exams. Some others are converting exams on some. Yes, this is kind of different from the usual. Some others are giving projects instead of exams, open book with everything, just to make sure that the students grasp the content. Now at the Lebanese University, we are still wondering how things will be done, because we still have 3 weeks to go till the end of the semester to see how the exams will be done.
Yeah.
When it comes to my courses in the educational technology, we just have projects. We don't have really exams. So things are different. And online works perfectly well for us.
Right. So you were doing that before
Exactly.
the coronavirus. So you just maintained that. So you were in a good position.
Exactly. We were
So
doing
for
it.
70,000 students.
Excuse me.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was saying that we were doing it while being face to face, faking the online, because we are not
Right.
allowed to have 100% online.
Right.
Do you
So what
have a,
I'm wondering is, for these 70,000 students at Lebanese University, do all of them have easy enough access to the internet and have home computers, or are there issues with access?
No, we do have many different issues because the internet in Lebanon is still very expensive compared to the whole world. We don't have open access for a limited
Right.
amount of money. So this is very complicated. We don't have fiber optics to homes, which make the connection not good. As you can see, my connection is not very good. So we have the issue of, we have interruption of electricity. So this is another challenge. We rely on the normal electricity than on the private electricity we receive. So we do have different challenges concerning the connectivity. And what I have requested through that new commission that started a week ago in the ministry, I have requested to take that into consideration with the Minister of Communication, to give the student something not expensive for the connection for the internet, so that we'll be able to go online 100% without worrying to have a big video that will consume a lot of internet, so on and so forth.
That's excellent. Yeah.
do you know the situation in K-12 schools? What's happening with them?
Yes, the situation is kind of similar, especially that there students are not very familiar with the internet connection, some of them at least, and they have to help their kids to be connected. So it was really very complicated because they were not trained at all.
Sure.
So some schools are preparing, the teachers are offering, sorry, not the teachers, are offering the parents workshop online for the summer, so that they will prepare them for the fall, without knowing that whether or not gonna be the modality of working or not. So we don't have any decision because we don't know how things are evolving. We're in a very weird situation, unprecedented. Yet some schools, especially those who have funds, are preparing the teachers to go along with the students. When it comes to to the way it happened last year, I mean, during the last few months, teachers were complaining that the students did not log in, all of them. They had a low percentage of those attending. Due to the problem of expensive internet, due to the problem of not having the good equipment. For example, now I have tried my iPad, it did not function, I don't know why, to connect to the Cisco meeting now.
Yeah.
Then I have tried another computer, it was too slow, then I was connected through my mobile phone. So the technology by itself, it has specific challenges. And when you add to it the complexity of the situation here, the bad connections and the high internet prices, and sometimes the parents that are unable to help their kids. If the pupils are like 12 years old and more, they can somehow manage themselves. But for the toddlers, it's way harder. They need the assistance of
Sure.
the parents, which is complicated, knowing that all our softwares are in English, and sometimes the parents have issues with that.
Sure. I didn't know that. All the software, I didn't think about that. But all the software is in English, and not everyone knows English.
And if we have them in Arabic, we won't be able to connect because we're not familiar with the technical words in Arabic. So, we went in Lebanon. We do not learn in Arabic languages except the Arabic literature, the geography, and the history. And all others go either French or English. I mean, science, mathematics, chemistry, physics, etc. They are taught right from the first schools of first school years until the end, either in French or either in French or in English. So this is why when it comes to technology, we cannot handle it. We are unable to handle it in Arabic.
Is that true in the public schools as well as the private schools?
Yes, it's true for both, but it's not true for the whole Arabic region.
Right, of course.
This is a specificity for Lebanon.
Very interesting. Very interesting. And so I guess the English instruction, has that been the case? How long has that been the case, the instruction in English and French?
I cannot tell, but this was the case for my parents when they went to school. So long time ago.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if the English that instruction helps parents, but technical language is a different language, or it's far beyond everyday English for sure.
I should say that previously we had more French than English, so the parents tended to choose French schools for their kids, not English. Now we have 1% of the schools moving from French to English per year. 1% of Lebanese schools, I'm talking about the private schools, and even the public, 1% of them are switching from being French schools, I mean having all the scientific courses in French, to becoming English schools.
I see, yeah.
So
okay,
we tend more parents fluent in French than English.
Sure.
Lebanon is amazing. It's always amazed me in many ways. I wanted to ask also about other kinds of media, like textbooks and teachers' guides and those kinds of things. Are those also available during this period to students? Did the students take their textbooks home, or are they sent out to students, print materials, especially those who have access to the internet, to broadband?
It's a combination of all. A few schools open their doors and ask the parents to come and take the textbooks during specific days with using all the safety measurements for that. Some decided to start to prepare videos, interactive PowerPoints, etc., to send the materials. Some did a combination of both. Some prepared working documents to be sent online and receive the result. So it was a combination, and since they did not have the time to prepare for it, it was a combination of everything.
pretty much the same as here.
Mm-hmm. Probably very much so. One of my students is teaching a class of second graders. This is off topic, and she online, and teaching second graders online must be quite a challenge, I think.
Yes, yes, of course it is, because you have to teach the kids and the parents along.
Yeah.
To make things work. Yes, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I have something interesting to share with you. I am teaching now 3 different courses. 2 courses on e-evaluation, how to create e-evaluation courses. I'm giving 2 sections, one in French, one in English language. And I'm teaching how to start a digital library, another course. And I asked my students, because we were given this question from the university, whether or not our students would like to meet face-to-face for 2 weeks before the end of the semester. So I said, why shall I decide? Let's ask the students. They are all graduate students. They are master students. So I asked them, 100%, they said no need to meet face-to-face. And the online is working perfectly well for them. So it was interesting to know. I had almost 0 absences during this semester. They are all meeting online except some really difficult situations. Someone is sick, someone is. So, and they are really participating and everything is going well. But I'm pretty sure that for those who are not, the teachers who are not prepared enough, things should be way harder. And my colleagues are complaining from a very low attendance online from the students because of all the challenges we have already mentioned.
That's really interesting. Do you think that yourself that the quality, it's possible to have the same quality in teaching completely online as face-to-face or in some blended form?
In my case, being with master students who have had their bachelor face-to-face and all the interaction among themselves, yes, we can maintain totally the quality. I'm sure of that. Plus, we are prepared for this. This is our field.
Yeah, exactly.
When it comes to teachers who are not prepared, no, we need a preparation, because I cannot give a face-to-face course, take the materials, put them online. This is not enough. We need to rewrite our courses in a different way. We need to check with the students every 10 minutes if everything is okay, because I don't have their feedback, the feedback of the eyes, if everything is going right or not. So I need to prepare questions to trigger them, and while me explaining, they should be answering by typing, and I should keep an eye on that. So yes, just to be sure that the students are following correctly, they are really aware of what I'm saying, they are not on their cell phones, and all of those questions. So we have to prepare the course in a different way. And this content engineers we redo for an online course, it needs preparation, a new thinking.
That's really interesting. Jim, do you have the same experience?
Yes, that at least one of the trainings that I went through, yes, meaning I have been redoing my classes, learning how to do them better online. It's not a matter of, as you said, it's not at all a matter of taking a class and putting it online, taking face-to-face material and just doing it virtually. And so that's a challenge. I've heard also that every 10 minutes you have to ask the students to do something. And so this is in the medical school, they were saying even medical school students, every 10 minutes they have to do something. And so
plus, we have to work on the social emotional learning atmosphere. So students, they are in their houses in a very weird condition. They are somehow afraid. They don't have, we are in an unusual situation. So we cannot open our cameras and tell them, now we will study this. We should check on them. Are you okay? Is everything? When now it's summer in Lebanon and we have 3 months really sunshine and no rain. But previously in February, I used to ask them, how is the weather today in your area? because it could be raining someplace, shining sunshine in another place. Just to work on those tiny little details that will make them comfortable, especially that they have never seen me before in face-to-face. We started directly online. It's not easy. Plus, sometimes we have a running kid coming to the mother, the father, shouting. So instead of telling them, turn off your microphone, we should ask for the kid to come and say hello and what's your name, because all of those situations will help them more and will make our course a little bit more human than just screens and content. And we should take care of those tiny little details that will give life to our course.
Mhm.
Thank you. You actually answered my next question. And that it was, how do you bring social and emotional learning into this period of time when it is so unusual, and most people are dealing with different levels of stress and anxiety, including me.
Yes, exactly. All of us, we are testing something new, and we don't know. We used to plan. We used to have our agenda fully booked for 1.5 years. Now we don't know tomorrow what we'll be doing. So it's difficult for all of us already. One time I had one student telling me, I don't have electricity where I am. My cell phone is not full, and I cannot follow the session. So I told her, I'll open WhatsApp, I will record the whole session on WhatsApp, and I will be sending it to you, knowing that Teams, definitely we can do exactly the same. But I said to myself, maybe within 2 days, they will not have electricity. So let's have another option that will encourage her just to be updated on the spot, because we can refill the cell phone with the battery of a car, but the computer, it's a little bit more complicated. So we should be creative just to help the student not have additional challenges with our online learning.
Mhm.
And the government, you said, is developing a commission to study these issues. Would that be across higher ed as well as primary and secondary schools?
It was not clear if they will do it for both, but I suppose they should be doing it, because we're facing the same challenges, both of us.
Mhm. Wow. Well, that's a lot. It's a lot for teachers, especially without technology training and background.
Yes. I think they should go on online training to prepare themselves for the fall, because else I don't know how things will evolve.
Right. Now, in general, both before and during the crisis, which we don't know how long it could be a new normal for a long time, are the professors themselves in charge, or they have the autonomy to be able to create content for the course themselves, or is there some kind of guidance, not only guidance but rules that you have to follow in your course development?
When it comes to university teachers, we had the instruction not to exceed 40 minutes per session, and to do 2 different sessions on 2 different days in a week. So we're not allowed to do 2 40 minutes in the same day. So that's it, not more than that. And they put advisory teachers available for whoever wants. When it comes to school, this is the Lebanese University. The private university, each one did it their way, according to the they have. And the big universities, yes, gave guidelines and specified the tools to be used and the way to do it. When it comes to schools, schools were really very diverse. Some schools were requested a specific tool and a specific way to deliver the content. Some others gave the total autonomy for the teacher. I don't know if because the school does not know how to act and react to this situation. And here I'm talking about the very small schools. When it comes to the big schools, the coordinator of each subject worked hard to prepare something and give it to the teachers to dispatch it to the student and animate the sessions. But the small schools had harder time doing that.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And the training, just to follow up on that, there's not a consistent program of training. The US doesn't have it either, but no consistent program of training for teachers or for subject specialists to develop their curriculum for the fall. Is that?
Until now, universities are starting to prepare, and the big schools are starting to prepare.
Okay.
But this is really very specific to each and every institution. We don't have a generalization in this. On the other hand, we went back in Lebanon, this is interesting to mention, on the school level, we went back into the teaching through the TV. So the local television of the government started to give conferences in English, French, English or French, and French, for the students that were supposed to do the official exam that was at the end canceled. So we did not have official exams this year for the K-12, grade 12, and 7, 8, 9, 12,
Wow.
and 6. So they were canceled. Yet we're still having on the television in the afternoon explanation of the math, physics, chemistry, etc. for those two classes. So we had this old way that was used when I was at school for during time war. They have used this method. Now they're back to the same methods. Why not? It's an additional way of doing it. And everybody has television, so this is easy.
Right. But it's a challenge also when the students do come back. How is where they are now in their learning going to be assessed? What kind of assessment methods are they going to use to know where to start in the new, in the curriculum?
It is not yet clear, but I think since whole Lebanon was closed in the same date, I think all students have plus or minus one chapter. So it's not gonna be very hard. But the big question is that are we returning back to face in the fall? It doesn't look like until now. So they should invest in the distant learning. And if they will do it and will go back, I don't know how feasible it will be. We still have big questions. And I think we do have the same big questions all over the world.
Absolutely. And, there's even possibilities that the whole a positive way. I mean, we've tried to see a silver lining in everything.
Could you please repeat it because it was cut?
Yes, I think that those questions are everywhere, but there are those who have a vision, a positive vision that maybe something good can come out of the learning that will revise learning, maybe away from being so heavily structured and top down and exam driven and so on. That it may actually.
Exactly. I can see a lot of positive things emerging from this. First of all, to acknowledge the distant learning in Lebanon and maybe in the whole region, which was not the case previously, and to stop giving lectures top bottom. So we should start to guide our students and to teach them and to put them in the middle of the teaching learning process and to help them go into the deep learning, because our world is changing quickly. Unless they go into the deep learning, which is one of the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals for the new, for the 2030, unless they go into the deep learning, they won't be able to adapt, knowing that today the top 10 most requested jobs are jobs that did not exist previously. So if we do not give them this very interesting thinking, which is the deep learning, and to be able to adapt whatever we've learned to a different situation, they will never get one of those top 10 jobs, and this will be a pity. So we should start to teach differently, of course.
If you, if you could, what recommendations would you make, I think, to the government, to schools, to universities about proceeding from here on, knowing what you do, know about the situation in Lebanon, of course, and the readiness for technology and the uncertainty? That's a big question.
Yeah, sure it is. For the government, it will be very important to start to have almost free internet for students, free or almost free, with a very good connection. So this is the beginning, and this could help us to create a genius, because to create geniuses, it's not very complicated nowadays. We do have a lot of MOOCs around, and students really want to learn, want to go into coding, want to discover something new, and they became autonomous thanks to whatever is offered online. So if we give them just the free internet and we guide them to go the positive way using the internet, because you always have negative ways of using it, we can really support them in a good way. So first of all, having free internet for students, schools and universities, pupils and university students, and with a good connection. Then to work more on competitions, because students will challenge themselves to do better in each and every field of life. Then to offer collaborative programs. For example, I should not work on the competition alone. I should try online to work with others, to collaborate, because collaboration is very important. And this is a key, a golden key for uh, not internet, for digital creativity. Unless we collaborate, we are way less creative. So this is for the government. Then the government has to offer distant workshops for schools, for universities. We should start to collaborate overseas also on those, and to have more exchange through the internet. Now that we cannot travel anymore, we cannot, but there are very interesting initiatives in this domain. When it comes to schools and universities, each school and each university has to have a position for one of our graduates. All our graduates are working. None of them is without work, because we don't have a lot of educational technology specialists in Lebanon yet, and I think all over the world. So they have to have this position, and that person should train the teachers to help them to convert their courses online. And if they are not on the online part, how to animate a face-to-face course through technology. I'm totally against stopping the books and moving to technology. This is not a good way of doing it. But we should be using technology whenever there is the need for it, and whenever the use of technology is an added value. So all of those are understood and known how to be used by the technology specialist. And why this tool, why not another one? Why we do not use the same tool twice within the same week? What we lose if we do it? So on and so forth. So universities and schools have to have a technology, education technology specialist that will help the faculty members and support them to move little by little online. Schools should know that we cannot do this move without a strategic plan. We should have a vision. We should put a strategic plan, seconded or helped by that technology specialist, to make things really work in a correct way, in a good way. Universities also have to have that position of technology specialist, and something that works really well, because some are technophobe, they don't like technology, and we respect that till the end. We should keep on using the papers also. But we do have some shooting stars concerning technology. They should integrate the group of the educational technologists within schools and universities and support each other. So this can never be and should never be a solo player, a unique player, individual player. because it will never succeed. In a whole institution, we should have a group preparing for that. And this group should be coordinated by a technology specialist. So to do it the right way, the correct way.
Wow, that's great. We have a plan.
We have a plan.
Now we know what to do in the US as well.
I would like to know a little bit about how things are moving, especially for universities in your country, if you can spare a few minutes for me.
Sure. I think Jim is the expert here since he's with George Washington University. But the overview is that universities are really worried about economics. How are they going to maintain their income streams, and are they going to? There's fear that many of them will have to be closing. That's what I read in the general news. But I'll let Jim address this question because he's within the realm.
Well, we do have this in Lebanon.
No, pardon me.
We fear closing some of the institutions in Lebanon too.
Especially the private universities, I would imagine.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I'm with a private university in Washington, and I know from my experience, I'm not sure I can speak for the country as a whole, but other than the general news, but certainly our university each university is making its own decisions. Some programs even, or departments or schools, even within universities, are making their own decisions about how to proceed. The US system, of course, is not managed by the central government, and much of it is, many universities are quite autonomous, the private and public, with the states. So there's a patchwork of, as our response in everything, there's a patchwork of responses rather than a single strategic vision and plan. Nonetheless, institutions are providing a lot of training to faculty to help set up their classes for the possibility for online or blended or face-to-face. And there's likely to be a combination of those. GW is going to open, it says, face-to-face in the fall with distancing between students. But the problem is, from my perspective, we don't have enough classrooms without distancing. So I don't see how we can open all of them with distancing. And they're trying various things, such as thinking about the undergraduate students taking all of their classes as a cohort. So for example, taking 3 weeks of one class and then 3 weeks of another class, so that they're all together, so they're not exposed to new people, is one of the steps. The faculty have been told, and students cannot always get to the US, international students, because the embassies are not doing interviews. And so there will probably be an online option. And what they're trying to do is to have an online option for face-to-face. A kind of.
How's that going to work?
Which means what?
And so I think it means that the instructor will be in the classroom with many of the students, but some of them will be online.
Oh.
And they have a word for it, which I don't remember. I think that sounds very complicated.
This will not work for Lebanon, for example, unless they change the rules here, because we have to present our passports and our entrance to the US and coming back to Lebanon to get the equivalent of our certificate, of our diploma.
Wow.
So if it is considered distant learning, no equivalent.
Well, that's another of the considerations, is that countries do not always recognize distance. And so I think the idea is trying to portray the classes as face-to-face, but online for a while. I really don't know how that works.
It would be very interesting to have this conversation again around September.
Yeah, sure.
Well, at the same time, faculty are told that if we can apply to teach online if we are at greater risk of infection. So I'm older and in a greater risk category. So I've applied to teach online the fall. And so I think that is what some of us will do. But it's very messy. This week alone, we have 5 workshops about how to prepare classes online,
Oh la la.
and probably about that every week. So there's a very large effort going on, and it's been very helpful. But little tricks, as you just talked about, asking them to how the weather is. Little techniques like that are not intuitive to a face-to-face instructor, and so it's very helpful to talk with people, to have workshops and such.
Interesting.
Yeah, I had one more question. You mentioned earlier, I really enjoyed listening to some of these little tricks. I hadn't thought of that, although I've heard that, in some of the anecdotes that teachers are telling about relating to their younger students. But my question is, you mentioned deep learning and how that might lead to progress toward the Sustainable Development Goals. Could you just explain that a little bit more? I'm not sure everybody would understand exactly what deep learning means.
We used to teach, when I was a kid, when I was a student, we were taught information. And you have to grasp the information and give them back, and that was it. So this is surface learning. It's not deep learning at all. But if I'm teaching in face-to-face mode or online mode, either or any of those two models, if I give the information and ask them to go a little bit beyond it and to use it to create something else with it, and to re-offer that information in another way, this is deep learning, which means whenever they will need that information, they can adapt it to a different circumstances. I'll give an example. I will let my student in the evaluation course, I will ask them to choose any of the free tools we have, starting with WhatsApp, Facebook, Skype, etc. Choose any of those free tools and to create, using a tool, a specific exercise with their student to solve a teaching learning problem. For example, sometimes I had recently one graduate student who was a teacher of geography. She told me, I have a problem teaching them the solar system and the planets. They always confuse the planets with one another. So I told her, very good. Choose one of those tools just to make your lecture as a game, and that will solve the issue. So you start by explaining it the traditional way. You do not delete this part. And then you give them that tool either to have an interview on Skype for Education with a specialist in the field, and the student will prepare the questions and will do it in class, or to create a hot potato exercise, which is true and false, crossword, fill in the blanks, etc., match about the planets. Or you create a wall on Padlet, and you ask each student to select one planet and to give five specifications of that planet. So choose one of the tools that will help the student through playing. We give us again the same information, and that way they will remember it. They will remember them. And if you make it interactive, such as Padlet, they will put they will put stars for each other. They will have to read, and whenever they will read, they will memorize. So this will enter us into the deep learning. We are not allowed to give them information and to ask them to give us information in the same manner. And believe me, students are very creative. They will give us the information back on those tools in a very different way. And sometimes it turns out to be way better than our ways, because of their creativity. And I always ask my graduate students to keep the best project and reuse them next year, and to give different projects next year, so that they will end up having, for the 9-month teaching, very creative projects done by the students. And the students will be proud to know the teacher is using this year the project I've done last year. They deserve to know it, definitely, and they will be way more encouraged. So this will lead them into the deep learning process. We give the basics, we guide them to develop projects around the basics. We ask them to re-deliver what they have prepared, and this way we help them to go into the deep learning. And a very interesting.
Mhm. And so how does this lead toward the Sustainable Development Goals? I mean, I think I understand, but just to be explicit for our viewers.
Quality of education is the major title of the Sustainable Development Goals.
Right.
And it's the 14th, if I'm not mistaken. And whenever we talk about quality education and a changing word, we used to say changing word because of the technology a few months ago. But now with the COVID, it's a changing word on all different levels. We need to adapt what we know to a different situation. So the Sustainable Development Goals want us to be able to adapt to a new technology not yet created. But now I say we need to adapt it to a different situation that is not usual, that we don't know of it, such as COVID. So we have quality education to adapt a different situation, and to be able to adapt easily, either to a new technology not yet created or to a new situation, we need the deep learning. So this is how the deep learning serves the quality of education, which is one of the Sustainable Development Goals suggested by the UNESCO.
Thank you. That's a very clear explanation. I think we need a lot of deep learning right now. We're coming up against our time limit. I wonder, I'd love to go on for hours, but I'm sure your time is limited as well. And what we're going to do is at least share the transcript of this conversation. We're hoping we can share at least part of the videos as well. And we will download and send the MP4 to you so you can see if there's anything you'd like to cut out. But before that, is there anything you'd like to add, just in general about remote learning and COVID-19 at universities, about anything you want to say, anything you want to address?
I think this is the right time for the whole planet to know that we are one. We are facing the same problems and the same challenges. It's time for us on the human level just to forget the differences among us and to unite ourselves for the better of this planet. COVID-19 explained that really well. So this is on the human level. And when it comes to teaching and learning, we understood through the COVID-19 that whenever one person of this humanity goes forward, the whole planet goes with him or her. And the opposite, whenever one single person goes backward, the whole planet goes with him or her. So let us join our efforts, and we have in each and every country a strong point. So let's put our strengths together and let's collaborate instead of working individually to the best of everybody, because this will affect positively everybody at the end. And because of the current crisis of the COVID-19 and the economic crisis being all over the world, not only here in Lebanon because of our manifestations, it is time to make the best use of internet and the distant learning. But we should do it the right way, because if a student starts a very boring lesson through the internet, or even worse, very complicated one through the online learning, that will discourage him or her. And having one person not reaching the end and having the diploma will create people jobless and with a lot of problems for the whole society, not for one individual. So we have to encourage having among us educational specialists and to work together as teams. No more solo players for the time being.
Thank you.
Thank
Jim,
you.
did you have any other questions?
No, I would, of course, I have many questions, but I think our time is up. I wanted to see if she had any questions for us.
Oh, good question.
I would be really happy to know how things are moving in from your direction. So you can, yeah, I'll ask you please to use my email just to send me decisions you have in your countries, good things you have done that we can learn from. I don't know, the way you're gonna use this interview by any kinds of publications or any kind, I'll be more than happy and glad to make use of it.
Wonderful. Well, we'll be, of course, step of the way, we will ask your permission and get your feedback on any steps we take with this.
I'll always say yes, you can use it if it's be useful for anybody in any case. And if you write something about it, I'll be very happy to reread it. And if you can share with me the title of the 5 workshops you are asked to do, this will inspire me for my surroundings.
I will do that. I will do that.
I appreciate.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much. God bless you, and just stay safe.
God bless you too, and thank you for having me. It was
Thank you.
very interesting for me.
Thank you.
Stay safe too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.